Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 8th, 2024. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Tuesday treated me well. I really have no complaints. I have a couple of corrections I want to make, but we'll get to that. Like the day was solid. Despite peak, it really didn't feel super duper crazy. I felt like I had a handle on things, which I always appreciate. A day that goes by like that. Let's see here. Food corner. Last night I made a Mexican beef and rice bowl. It was very yummy. It was good. Let's see here. I had the tortillas. I had the tortilla chips. Had the white rice. Like I said, it all just came together. Let's see here. Is there really anything else to report on the personal tip? No, not really. No, just like it was a regular Tuesday in that regard. So I'll take it. Right? No surprises. No alarms. Let's go ahead and do the startup, and we'll get into the corrections and then the rest of the news. Why not? All right. Our first comes in the form of a correction in terms of story stuff, and a bit of an update, I guess. But on the Tyree Nichols story, a commenter on YouTube brought up that it's like, hey, this was a federal trial over the police abusing Tyree Nichols' civil rights. And that's very important to mention. I didn't mention it that way. I definitely just interpreted it as just like, oh, this is the one-shot case. But they haven't announced trial dates as of yet, but they are going to be doing a state case on the actual murder. And so that's going to be a whole other trial. So I had heard about that the following day, and then I looked in my comments and saw that commenter had made that correction. So I just want to say thank you for that. I really do appreciate people who come into the comments with actual genuine, maybe not even so much criticism, but just like, hey, like this is what happened, just so, you're clear, everyone's clear, whatever, because, that's good for me. At the end of the day, hey, sometimes I need that help. I don't have a Jamie, this isn't the Joe Rogan experience. You feel me? So, I really do appreciate it. It takes a village. Let's see here, but I wanted to get into, the update half of it. From the Associated Press, 2 ex-officers convicted in fatal beating of Tyree Nichols get home detention while one stays in jail. This does go back to the whole, my narrative of it, which is just, it doesn't, it matters, of course, but it's still frustrating to see these guys, once again, get lesser time than the guys who pled out to testify against these dudes. So, it's frustrating in that regard that, some of these guys are going to get, 2 of these guys are going to get to chill at home, while they wait for the next trial to go down. I don't think that should be a thing at all. So, that just definitely is a bothersome thing. Let me read a little bit here. 2 former Memphis police officers convicted of obstruction of justice in the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols will be released from jail ahead of sentencing in January. But a third was found guilty of more serious civil rights violations, will remain in custody. A federal judge ruled on Monday. Tadarius Bean and Justin Smith will be on home detention with GPS monitoring until the sentencing, while Demetrius Haley will stay in jail. Magistrate Judge Charmaine Claxton said during a hearing in federal court. So yeah, just a bit of an update there. Another thing I wanted to mention in the corrections situation, just talking once again on October 7th, where we are a year from now, all that. I'm sure you could tell by the title last, it was just like Israel versus the Middle East is pretty much what that shit looked like. And I mean, more or less, that's kind of correct to say, you know what I mean? But, I definitely failed to mention Yemen though we definitely talked about Yemen on the podcast. The Houthi rebels have definitely still been firing. I have made at least some mention of that. So it's still a thing. They're still in play in terms of, their beef, their conflict with Israel. That's still ongoing. They still are in the mix. And they also are still getting hit back by Israel, from time to time. So yeah, I didn't have them in the title, but I felt like that was definitely worth mentioning. But yeah, let's get to the news at hand. From the Associated Press, Supreme Court declines Biden's appeal in Texas emergency abortion case. A court order that says hospitals cannot federally be required to provide pregnancy terminations when they violate a Texas abortion ban will stay for now, the Supreme Court said Monday. The decision is another setback for opponents of Texas's abortion ban, which for 2 years has withstood multiple legal challenges, including from women who had serious pregnancy complications and have been turned away by doctors. It's crazy because, literally in these kind of situations, we are talking the life or death scenarios. And essentially, that's the emergency care that needs to be provided here. But because of the murkiness of the laws, because doctors, nurses, they don't want to get fucking sued by the state or, some angry boyfriend or whatever the fucking case, they don't help. They don't, they don't provide the medical need that these people need, medical assistance these people need. And, it leads to really terrible outcomes. So obviously this is very unfortunate. You would fucking think that the judges at the very top would settle this by not putting their fingers on the scale and saying yeah, let these people potentially die. Let the worst case things happen because, we want to uphold the spirit of Texas's law, good old Texas's law. And it's I guess you really these situations have to throw your hands up. It's very frustrating. It's very sad to see that this is the state of affairs because I feel like it definitely kind of shows where they're leaning in that regard, when they actually wind up, hearing the full case or what have you. So definitely a blow in terms of just, women's rights, things of that nature. And just overall health in general, man. Once again, these situations, it shouldn't have, the conversation shouldn't have to devolve down into this, but once again, people are dying over this, and it doesn't have to happen. These are completely avoidable outcomes, but because people want to have this religious ass fucking fervor, and they're like, I'm so pro-life, man, you just can't even think about aborting a baby, oh my god, I will ruin your life. Or we'll let you die. We don't care. As long as this baby gets a chance. Just a chance at life. Because every soul matters. Even if that soul is just a patch of little cells. It's not even really real yet. But whatever. It's more of a concept. But to us, that concept is everything. Because that's what Jesus would have wanted. That's what God would have wanted. That's what he wants. I don't fucking know, man. Anyway, I'm going to move along because once again, I feel like that sentence more or less covers it from the article. Obviously, you can read more, get the guts of it all, but I do want to kind of mosey. From the Associated Press, a former aide to New York Mayor Eric Adams is charged with destroying evidence as top deputy quits. I do love this motif I've been hearing, which is every time the feds come a knocking, all of these people who are connected, a part of this fucking shit, the cohorts, if you will, they have this habit of just being there was one aide that was hey, let me go to the bathroom real quick. And they proceeded to go to the bathroom and try to delete all their encrypted messages. And it's dog, that's not gonna, they still got you, man. They're gonna find a workaround for this one way or another. They're gonna be able to get the information they need because lo and behold, you're still in a lurch. This aide or whatever. But yeah, let's or deputy, whatever the fuck they are, right? Anyway, I know it's an aide, but we'll get into it. We will get into it. A former New York city official was charged Tuesday with witness tampering and destroying evidence in a sweeping federal investigation that led to Mayor Eric Adams' indictment on charges. He took bribes and illegal campaign cash from foreign interests. The arrest came amid an ongoing exodus of top Adams administration officials as, federal prosecutors delve deeper into allegations that the mayor was using staffers in an attempt to cover up wrongdoing. Mohammed Bahi, which I'm sure I'm getting this name wrong, so mea culpa, who resigned Monday as the mayor's liaison to the Muslim community, is accused of encouraging a businessman to solicit illegal straw donations from 4 of the businessman's employees and then to lie about it to the FBI. I guess a quick just definition of a straw donation. Essentially, okay, I want to donate to you. I'm like a foreign asset guy, whatever. I'm a person. I want to donate to you, though. I want to give you some money. I want to help you out so you can help me out later, scratching backs and whatnot. Okay, that's illegal. You can't do that. Well, what's the workaround? It's a straw donation. I have someone in my corner in your, part of town, let's say New York, in good old New York, and, he's fucking with me. I'm fucking with him. I'm going to tell him, hey, mister, make this donation. Just make it. Go ahead and make it in your name, all that shit. And then I will compensate you for said donation. So that is essentially a straw donation. You can't do that. You're not supposed to fucking do that shit. But people will set this up so that they don't get caught for, obviously doing the blatant illegal donation, where you can't do when you're foreign, asset or an asset agent, whatever. You know what I'm saying. So essentially, Bahi was trying to make this shit happen. Obviously, they got him on that shit, but let's continue reading. At one point, Bahi told the businessman that Adams believed the man wouldn't cooperate with law enforcement, according to prosecutors. As agents arrived to search Bahi's home in July, they say he deleted an encrypted messaging app from his cell phone that he used to communicate with Adams. So obviously, like I said, that didn't work out, man. They still got you, brother. That's, so just heed that. That's a free tip. Speaking at a news conference Tuesday, Adams denied that he had any hand in telling anyone to lie. I would never entrust anyone to do anything illegal or improper. Also, I love that, this tactic was also more or less used by Adams in the sense of, he tried to, change his password. I've mentioned that before. But it's his excuse was hey, I'm trying to get on top of this shit, too. There's enemies everywhere. So, I want to make sure I change my password. Oops, I forgot my password. They're like, oh, okay, whatever. Like I said, they found a way around that shit, too. Bahi, 40, was arrested early Tuesday and released on his own reconnaissance after a brief appearance in federal court in Manhattan. He was not required to enter a plea and was ordered to surrender his travel documents and not contact any witnesses. Bahi is the first person other than the mayor to be charged in the investigation. Adams praised him Tuesday as a thoughtful liaison who worked to really bring down the noise in some of the conflicts we're seeing today. Adams, a Democrat, has maintained a busy schedule in recent weeks, striking a buoyant tone at news briefings and insisting he can simultaneously lead the city, defend himself in court, and reshape an administration battered by federal searches and resignations. More or less related to him. Do I have to say allegedly there? Put quotations there? Whatever, I don't know. Adams portrayed the parade of high-level departures from his administration as unconnected to the criminal investigations, a claim at odds with statements from some of those former staffers. Now, this is why I'm really trying to read some of this because I feel like this is really important shit. His first deputy mayor, Sheena Wright, submitted her resignation Monday, one day after Adams confirmed the resignation of her brother-in-law, Philip Banks, who served as the deputy mayor for public safety, and Winnie Greco, the city's director of Asian affairs. Wright's representative declined to provide a reason for her resignation. Last week, Adams announced the school's chancellor, David Banks, the husband of Wright and brother of Banks, would leave later this month, rather than at the end of the year as planned. And then we talked about Caban, but let's go ahead and reiterate this. Police Commissioner Edward Caban resigned last month, saying he did not want the investigations to serve as a distraction to the police department. And senior moral advisor Timothy Pearson has also resigned. All 6 officials had their devices seized by federal investigators, each denied wrongdoing. So, yeah, it looks like a lot of the gang is on the line right now. You know what I mean? Their shit's getting looked at. Granted, only Bahi and Adams are currently charged with anything, but, I mean, who knows? The more bodies could hit the fucking floor. We don't know yet. Who knows if people are talking or telling right now? Who's switching up? Who's switching sides right now? Who's dropping the dimes? So, it's definitely some tumultuous times. I think something I wanted to add here that I haven't really talked about as of yet. Let's see. Actually, no, there's more I should read. There really is a lot to cover on this. Adams' office confirmed Monday that another aide, Rana Abasova, we're going to say Abasova, was fired. She had been the mayor's director of protocol for international affairs and was involved in events at the heart of his indictment, including fundraising and accompanying him on trips to Turkey. She's been on unpaid leave since the FBI raided her home last year. She's now a key witness. Ooh, she flipped. She flipped like a pancake for the prosecution, according to Adams' lawyer, Alex Spiro. Now, this is the part I wanted to skip to. Governor Kathy Hochul, a Democrat who has the power to remove Adams from office, said last week that she was working with the mayor to make sure key positions are filled with people who are going to be responsible. We expect changes. That's not a secret, and changes are beginning, Hochul said. Adams denied that Hochul signed off on any of his personal changes, including his decision to appoint Maria Torres Springer to replace Wright as first deputy mayor. That was on Tuesday, today. Let's see here. Bahi's criminal complaint alleges that he organized a fundraiser for Adams in December of 2020 at the Brooklyn headquarters of a construction company, where Bahi suggested that the company's owner have his employees make donations to Adams' campaign and then refund the workers for $2,000 payment, just under the maximum allowed for individual donors in the city. And like I'm pretty sure I've mentioned, with all of these donations, New York has a system that essentially like they'll match it. So, I mean, he's like 2xing at least or something to that effect. So essentially he's really cranking the grift to, really maximum levels. Also just random. I don't know if I've also not mentioned this yet, but, I know in terms of like, what did Turkey get out of this? They wanted a building, like a consulate building. They wanted that to get okayed. And essentially they pushed on Adams, and Adams like, I got you, bro. And he pushes down on the fire department to be like, hey, let this shit happen. Don't worry about any of the problems. Don't worry about fire code. Fire code's fire schmode, okay? I don't care about that, okay? Let this shit rock. So essentially that happens. The consulate's open, so Erdogan can do his thing for like the UN or something to that effect. But it's crazy because Adams milks this system ridiculously. Once again, he gets the $100,000 for the donations. That all gets matched and X'd up. But like he got to travel on like Turkish Air dime. And he's going out of his way, getting crazy layovers pretty much in Turkey, taking all the tours, doing all the shit and getting these like crazy good rates, like getting free fucking plane rides first class type shit. And it's so bad because essentially they have the text messages of like, oh, hey, actually you need to charge Adams. Like you need to charge Adams for this plane ride. He's like, what? You want me to charge $50, $100? What? They're like, no, dude, like at least like $1,000 or something, man. Like they're watching him, dude. Like don't play coy about this shit, man. Get this right. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But, so yeah, shit is a mess. The corruption is running deep. At least that's what it's looking like. But like I said, meanwhile, you got Adams over here. He's fucking walking and chewing gum. He does not care. He's doing it all. He's like, I'm still going to be mayor. In fact, I'm going to run for re-election. This isn't going to stop me. He's just rocking it out, man. And good for him. It's crazy to me because it's something I've kind of been hearing since this shit popped off. Apparently, like, Adams had it in his head, and people were gassing this motherfucker up. Like, he could have been president one day. And I'm like, brother, no fucking way, dude. No shot. Like, you were a RoboCop turned politician, and okay, that's cool. Crazy you got here. Awesome. You went from, like, borough president of Brooklyn to, like, now president. I guess, or not president, I'm sorry. Mayor, New York mayor. Cool, man. Kudos, I guess. Now you're killing rats and you're doing all this fucking shit. But like, No way, man. Presidente? I mean, shit, I know it's crazy that, Kamala Harris is making the run she's making, but, like, come on. Come on, my guy. Be realistic. I don't know. I just thought that was a funny little thing. And I find this obviously very fascinating. This is definitely one of my highlights of the year, is the fact that they chose to, like, move on this shit and make it happen. Couldn't have happened to a better mayor. That's all I can say. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move on. I know I waxed a little longer on this, did a little bit more reading, but, felt like it had to be done. Anyway, let's move on to the YouTube. Let's talk about these old content creators, Jack Doherty. I'm not really familiar. Also, I couldn't say that I'm a fan, mainly because anytime I see this guy, and especially like the whole Broccoli Rob ass haircut and shit, I'm just not really, like, that's not for me. Probably too young. You're probably not making the kind of content I'm interested in. So, it's kind of a skip for your boy. But I did peep that he crashed a whole ass 150K in pounds. So that, that's more than the goddamn dollar. But he crashed his whole ass fucking McLaren on the highway while he was on his phone in the rain. Messy. So, we're going to take a little deviation and talk about this stupid ass. From Lad Bible. So we're already off to a good start. Lad Bible. That's a great media name outlet. Awesome. Love that. YouTuber banned from popular streaming site after crashing 150K pound. I don't know how you word that when you're not talking dollars. Whatever. McLaren while using phone on highway. A YouTuber who crashed a 150K McLaren while using his phone appears to have been banned from a popular streaming site. Let's see. Those watching the stream got to witness the crash in real time, though fortunately he and his cameraman Michael, who had been sitting in the passenger seat, were not seriously harmed. I will add that despite the fact that, like, no one was really fucked up, like, you see the cameraman when they're, like, out of the car and everything, like, oh, man, what the fuck? Oh, shit. Da-da-da, whatever. You see that the cameraman's, like, bleeding profusely from his head. He had to get, like, stitches in his face. So, luckily, yes, no one was hurt outside of that, for real. The McLaren was fucking totaled. But YouTube and, other streaming platforms that we're going to get to, essentially, have guidelines that you're not allowed to break. And one of those is you're not supposed to be texting while driving. You're not supposed to be, like, unsafe behind the wheel while you're, doing content, all that shit. Like, that's against the YouTube guidelines. So, essentially, after this shit had aired, YouTube pretty quickly made the move to be like, yeah, no, your shit's off now. It's gone. And he went on Kick, and I'm not sure. I think he was he doing this on Kick? I'm not sure. It says it here. He was doing it on Kick. He's streaming on Kick. And Kick initially had came out. If you're not familiar with Kick, that's probably for the best. But essentially, Kick it kind of came out as like, hey, man, you can just come here and do whatever you want. You can be cool. You can just be a cool guy. No one's going to stop you from doing that kind of shit. Very akin, if you're not familiar, I've mentioned this before, but Rumble, which is like, hey, if you want to be, like, not woke, if you want to, like, say it, bro, you can. You can do that on Rumble, dog. Awesome. Whatever. So, like, these are options, but, like, at the end of the day, I think Kick is definitely trying to, like, tighten up on its image and not be so, laissez-faire or anything goes on their app. They're definitely not an outlaw app, or at least they're trying not to parade themselves as such as much, which we're going to be getting to. Because even though he posted this shit on Kick, it definitely seems that he is no longer available. You can't find him on Kick. You get the 404 message when you go to look him up. So it looks like the shit's kind of like fallen down around this guy, at least socially, at least in the court of public opinion. There's been no charges filed against Jack Doherty, though this was being filmed in the States, and he was definitely in a state where it's not legal to text and drive. So, could be a thing, but I don't think they're going to charge him or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, the fucking McLaren totaled. And needless to say, I wind up seeing a clip from this guy, and he's going live on TikTok. And he's asking people for galaxies, which essentially in that situation is like a $15 donation that you can give to him. And he's like, hey, if you all give me like, I think he wanted like 1,000,000 galaxies. I'll like refund you your galaxy, like, or something like to that effect, which kind of sounded like a scheme or whatever. But like, hey, do your thing, whatever. He seemed like the shit was kind of falling down around him. You know what I mean? And I say good. I mean, also it was so cringe for him to like be like, hey man, like, because people were roasting him. Like, there are people who were giving him shit. Like, dude, you could have gotten killed. Your cameraman could have got killed. You could have killed someone. Like, why the fuck were you moving like this? This is insane. You should have been texting and driving. You shouldn't have been speeding on the highway like you were. Like, what the fuck? And essentially, his excuse that I heard from the clip was like, look, man, I was driving a McLaren. Like, you wouldn't get it. Like, I hydroplaned in the McLaren. You just wouldn't understand. And it's like, dog, wow. Okay, way to be disconnected. Also, I'm realizing now why they were talking in pounds. It just hit me. Lad Bible, lad, like, I'm a little lad because it's across the pond. So, yeah, you know, they're talking in pounds. I think it's got to do that. You know, that was dealer's choice. I picked the wrong outlet. Should have picked the Daily. Is it Daily Mail? I don't even think that's American. Whatever. Let's see. Is there anything else I really wanted to cover out of this? No, I think we're good. Yeah, we've reached the end of that. All right. We're going to do one more story, and then that'll be it. That'll be the episode for the day. So let's go ahead and take our last break before we blast off again. All right. From the Associated Press. A spacecraft is on its way to a harmless asteroid slammed by NASA in a previous Save the Earth test. A spaceship blasted off Monday to investigate the scene of a cosmic crash. The European Space Agency's Hera spacecraft rocketed away on a 2-year journey to the small, harmless asteroid rammed by NASA 2 years ago. In a dress rehearsal for the day a killer space rock threatens Earth. It's the second part of a planetary defense test that could one day help save the planet. Now, this tripped me out because when they said 2 years, I was like, no shit, dude. I really thought this story happened last year. Like, once again, I'll say this before, I'll say it again. I have no semblance of time anymore. Like, I'm just living in a flow state, brother. You know what I mean? Time is just whatever to me, man. But like, I'm really glad that we have these kind of things as like good markers because it helps my dumb ass out. But yeah, this is kind of like, you know, that first story where they came and they like smashed a whole fucking like ship thing into this asteroid to essentially like do some research to be like, hey, you know, how could we deal with this kind of situation? You know, what's the specs on an asteroid of this size? It's also mindful to make clear that even before back then, this asteroid wasn't deemed to actually be a threat or anything like this. This was just like an exercise, a test for them to kind of, you know, figure out what we would do in this kind of situation. So, you know, overall very cool, but, interesting that it's like, okay, there's a part 2 here where we're now going back up to the same asteroid. And I guess now an asteroid like chip off or debris that's like alongside of it. But yeah, let's read a little bit more. SpaceX's Falcon rocket quickly disappeared with Hera into the late morning clouds. An hour later, applause erupted in the control center in Germany as the spacecraft separated from the rocket's upper stage and then called home. It's an amazing day, the space agency's director, General Josef Aschbacher, said afterwards. The 2022 crash by NASA's DART spacecraft shortened Dimorphos's orbit around its bigger companion, demonstrating that if a dangerous rock was headed our way, there's a chance it could be knocked off course with enough advance notice. So essentially it's like, okay, cool, mission accomplished. Scientists are eager to examine the impact's aftermath up close to know exactly how effective DART was and what changes might be needed to safeguard the Earth in the future. The more detail we can glean, the better it may be, or the better as it may be important for planning a future deflection mission should one be needed, University of Maryland astronomer Derek Richardson said before the launch. Researchers want to know whether DART, short for Double Asteroid Redirection Test, left a crater or perhaps reshaped the 500-foot or 150-meter asteroid more dramatically. It looked something like a flying saucer before DART's blow and may now resemble a kidney bean, said Richardson, who took part in the DART mission and is helping with Hera. DART's wallop sent rubble and even boulders flying off Dimorphos, providing an extra kick to the impact's momentum. The debris trail extended thousands of miles, more than 10,000 kilometers, into space for months. Some boulders and other debris could be hanging around the asteroid, posing as a potential threat to Hera, said the director Ignacio Tanco. We don't really know very well the environment in which we are going to operate, said Tanco. But that's the whole point of the mission, is to go there and find out. So the European officials describe the 400 million or 363 million euro mission as a crash scene investigation. Hera is going back to the crime site and getting all the scientific and technical information, said project manager Ian Carnelli. So obviously I find this interesting, just like I found the first mission interesting. Like I said, it's almost like Armageddon 2. I don't know. It's like similar vibes. I don't know. So, very cool. I'll definitely keep you posted on, how that goes. There's more details in like what's going to happen in terms of like, what does Hera do in terms of like setting off like more of its little like drone like things and all that stuff. But I'll save you all that science and leave it for the nerds if you want to go through and pick this article apart. But I do find it very interesting. I hope that the mission is successful and without any hitches. Also, I'm sure I explained it terribly, but hey, I do my best. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a guy in an armchair. But yeah, I'll leave it at that for today. Let's see here. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/News. Become a newsie today. Also, you can hit that up for free too as well. You're still paywall from the old little archive episodes or whatever, but you do get to hit me up. But there's other ways to do that. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com, and then feel free to follow me on the podcast or any of the socials. I mentioned at the top that, like I said, it was a YouTuber that, said, hey, you got this wrong. So obviously I love any kind of good rapport. I love any kind of corrections. We need that. It's very useful to me. So like I said, feel free to blah, 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 blah there. Hopefully at least something nice and something cool. I tend to heart useful information. I tend to heart and talk to, the nice guys and gals and MBs, who are supportive and encouraging. There you go. And if you say something stupid or negative, I tend to just leave you on blank. Like, I read you. Or, you know what? Maybe now you're banished to the shadow realm. You'll never see my shit again, and no one will ever see your comment. I love that. That's my favorite. Well, I just delete. There's so many things I can do, and more times than not, this is a YouTuber that's provoking me to do this. But it comes in all kinds. You can comment on Spotify. You can comment on the TikTok. There's so many ways to reach out. Is really what I'm getting at. But definitely helps out while you're at the YouTube. Like I said, hit that subscription button. I don't know if I said that this episode, but that helps with the effort for free. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend, and hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.